Hey everyone, thanks for joining. A lot of updates in the past, month and a half. Everything from Twitter officially closing with Elon. We've got FTX stuff, general market stuff to cover. But first things first, Jeff. Looks like you're in a different part of the world. Maybe you want to kind of introduce where you are.
Today, I am in Bangkok. I've been here for a couple of weeks now. It's been a most interesting journey here on business. I can talk a little bit about that, which is here for the cannabis industry, which just recently was somewhat legalized in Thailand. And they're still trying to figure out kind of what to do. So it's very, very early stages. You actually can go to any kind of street vendor on the street. You'll see signs outside, here, buy some bud here or whatever. So they have that, the recreational side, where you can just go buy some stuff on the street. But that's, as you know, that's not what we do at all. We don't condone that whatsoever. But from the medicinal cannabis side, we may have an interest here, as well as from the hemp side for growing for sustainable environmental projects. So that is one area. Then the second area of interest, of course, is the more we get involved with our recently announced partnership with the EFC, which is the equivalent of the UFC in Africa. The more we get involved in that relationship and the deeper we go, I came to Thailand to investigate opportunities related to that, to understand more about the Muay Thai community here. And, are they open? Are they ready? Is MMA something that could work here in Bangkok or other cities around? It's been amazing. I have met some phenomenal people. I will be going to the fights on Friday night. I am meeting more fighters Friday night. I've been to a bunch of gyms. The best way to explain Muay Thai here, it's like a religion. And it's something very deeply personal with the Thai people. Unlike the UFC or EFC, it's much more, the fighters are great. They're tough guys, and it's more of a tough guy thing. Here, it's way different. It is, you wake up in the morning and you have like a whole routine that you go through, which includes, of course, mindfulness, meditation, and then working yourself into the routine of training of Muay Thai. So it's very, very interesting, very cool. Like I said, I've met some great people. I've met, the most legendary coach ever here in Bangkok, which has been great. It's been a great journey from those. I mean, as you originally asked, why am I here? Those were the two main reasons. Haven't really done much of the tourism thing, but it's not really Bangkok for me. Doesn't seem to be much of the tourist kind of thing for me personally. I'm not much of a nighttime guy, and I'm not really here to go to discos at nighttime or check out the nightlife or the red light district or any of that
we,
stuff at
we are doing the
nighttime.
interview at 6 a.m. your time, so just to give people some context.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you know me, I'm a morning guy, right? I've already been up since 2 a.m. I start my day bright and early.
Yeah.
So, but I do go to bed at like 8. So for me, the nighttime thing doesn't interest me. But I did do like the Grand Palace, I did Chinatown, did all these things, and it's kind of interesting. But I think I would much more appreciate going to the areas outside into the mountains to find these beautiful, temples where you can actually walk in the temple and probably feel this particular energy that would be in there. At the Grand Palace here, you can't walk in any of the temples or anything. You can take a lot of pictures. It did feel very commercialized, which for me was a bit of a shame. But it is what it is. Listen, Bangkok's a big city. Traffic here is nuts. Pollution, smog. I look out the window now. It's a bit rainy this morning, but the sun is trying to come up, but there is a lot of smog out there. It's a big city, a lot happening. Very interesting.
Interesting. All right. Well, look, that's a good little update on what's happening in Bangkok. Well, do you want to kind of dive into? I mean, where do you want to start in the markets? I mean, you've got everything
Yeah.
from I mean, what's happened? Where do we want to kick it off? You want to do Elon, and Elon, what seemed like kind of getting his hand twisted into closing with Twitter, but also right away kind of fires whatever 75% of
Sure.
everyone there.
So listen, on the Elon thing, I got it wrong. I did say he would never go ahead and get this deal done. But you actually said arm twisted. In the end, it was actually the courts that did twist his arm and said, look, if you don't do this, you're going to have to pay some serious, fines or whatever it may be. And I guess in the end, he said, typical Elon style, well, F it, I'll take it then and I'll start having some fun. So he goes in, fires a ton of people, and a bunch of people complaining that, oh, you're firing everyone. It's like, it's a private company that he put up all the money. He can fire whoever he wants. And if he doesn't believe that the current roster of programmers are any good, then good for him. And, a lot of the current employees all pissed off because no longer can they work from home or get free lunches or free this or, Elon's coming in typical Elon style, which is goes back to an email he sent his Tesla employees 10 years ago saying, you want to work for me? Then you're going to work hard. And I mean doubly hard. Ask your friend how hard he works and double that. So, and he's made that, kind of his first principle at Twitter. You want to be part of a company that's going to do things in the future that'll be great, then you can be here and do it right. And you're going to do it my way. And that's what he's come in, a bit of a cowboy style. I like it. He
Now,
is
does it
all
send a
about.
message? The added conversation of this is, does it send a message to other tech companies of like, if Elon can do it
Oh,
with one, fifth of the staff, look at everyone else?
100%. Look at our good friend Zuckerberg. That rumors swirling now that he's actually going to step down. And quite frankly, he should. He's been there way too long. The company is morphed. He should step down. But it's funny that you mentioned, is Elon setting up other companies or a whole new economy, or not a whole new economy, but a whole way of changing what has been the last 10, 20 years of, kind of snowflake C-level executives running these companies. You just had, the head of Disney. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. He just got canned the other day. The
Yeah.
stuff that he was implementing at Disney and how he has ruined that brand, just absolutely ruined it. And there are so many like him out there that are using their political beliefs or wants, using big corporations to drive it. These guys all need to be fired. We got to get back to companies where the CEO, his job is to run the company, drive profits, and create growth, employment and growth. But that's what this is supposed to be all about, not about driving, political things that are going on with, we've seen it all with BLM. We've seen it all with LGBTQ, whatever. I can't even follow the number of letters in that thing anymore. Critical race theory teaching to employees, like all of it's got to stop. It's got nothing to do, especially when your company is a publicly traded company. If you're a private company, then by all means, it's your money, your partner's money, whatever it may be. Then do what you need to do and want to do, and let the market figure out whether they want to support you. But when you're a publicly traded company, it is certainly not, it's not the wishes of the shareholders to do what it is that you personally want to do because you're the CEO.
Yeah, there's some good like VCs, I guess, that came out, and they're kind of like, hey, like if he can still run that company with a quarter of the workforce,
Yeah.
we've had 10 years of growth of, you never really had to go through a serious layoff cycle depending on the industry you were in. And well, now look, clearly markets have changed, and now you've got all these activists or interested shareholders and say, hey, if he can do it, you guys can definitely have a look. And so you're starting to see a lot of those layoffs trickle through. You had Facebook, Amazon's announced they're letting go 10,000 people. Like, there's a lot of those starting to happen. And I guess, that leads to the conversation of, where are we at from a market standpoint? I always view layoffs create people, less spending, spending creates less business profits, creates this. It's this kind of cycle. Curious on what your kind of thoughts are on general markets.
So, this is something I did get right. So the Twitter call I got wrong in terms of him taking it over. And quite frankly, just to go back to Twitter for 1 second, I'm actually very curious and interested to see the developments of Twitter. I've always loved Twitter. I use it like a maniac. I love it. And I hope that he brings back a good level playing field to Twitter and allowing people to basically say what they want, basically within reason. Um, and just, let's have at it. Let's let people say what they think so that people know where they stand. And I hopefully that's what he's going to do with Twitter. I personally think that in the end, in a couple of years' time, we're going to look back and go, wow, what an aha moment that was. He's turned this thing around and he's done a great job. That's what I think. But as you know, I'm a big Elon supporter. Um, as for the layoffs, the economy, the market, that's one thing I did get very right. I did mention going way back 2 years ago when Biden got in that all of this type of behaviors of new CEOs taking over companies and all the free money, everyone getting free money, and student loans, like it doesn't matter, everything is free, don't worry about it, you need money, let me give you relief, everyone deserves free money, everybody's a winner. Like all of that attitude eventually trickles down to the bottom line. Someone's got to pay for it, companies have been paying for it, and now there's no more bottom line for the company. They're saying, holy shit, we got to start reducing costs, labor, whatever it may be. And that's what we're seeing. So setting up for a longer view, a few years out, this is what all economies go through anyway. We need to go through this big shakeout. The shakeout has been caused by these very irresponsible, things that the Biden government has done, including, all these relief packages, like I just mentioned, for COVID or for this or for that. There's always every day some kind of free package. Even reparations for climate. Now, the other day I'm like, reparations for climate. Now America's going to make payments to take care of others, including China. They're going to make payments to China because we've polluted the world. It's like, oh my word, what is going on with these people? So all that stuff will come to an end. Like they always do. There's always booms and busts in all these cycles. And in a couple of years' time, I can see, the economy being ready and prepped for a long, healthy run again. But unfortunately, like I said 2 years ago in our videos here, it's going to be a few years, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, of a lot of pain. And the pain that we see at the pumps, or the pain that we see in inflation, all that pain. I mean, the market's being driven at the moment, reaching these numbers that it is, not because of the market's strength or the economy's strength. It's just because there's way too much money in the system. I mean, at the end of the day, like, who is ever going to be able to pay for any of this stuff? Nobody. So, eventually you're going to have a run on the dollar, and it's going to be hard. But listen, I think that here we're coming to year end. There'll be the usual tax loss selling, people looking to position a new Congress coming in, starting in January. There'll definitely be some interesting investigations taking place as to, looking to impeach a bunch of people, including most likely Biden. And if the information and the facts are such on his son and himself, then if impeachment is the way to go, well, then it should be. I would still maintain, I've said it now for months, that I don't believe Biden will last another, 2, 3, 4 months. I've always said that I believe in Q1 2023, he's gone. So that's only, give it a 4, 5, 6 months out. I think he's gone. And then what happens, God knows, if it's Kamala that has to come in, that's even scarier. but it is what it is. But with a new Congress in place, at least there'll be a few more checks and balances put in place to mitigate some of this incredible the stimulus and everything that continues uh, just to ruin the economy for the next generations, many generations to come.
So, and I know we'll do an end of year in kind of 2023 chat, but I guess, for the people listening to this that go, I'm trying to pick Jeff's brain, see what his idea on markets are. Is he buying anything? Is he, just sitting back? Like, are you saying sit back for 2 years? Or are you saying, hey, like
No,
there's still some things?
no, definitely not sit back. There are definitely, some of these stocks now, which are the stocks that you and I spoke about, a year ago, where I said, look, these things are all going to tank. They're going to get killed. And I don't need to go through the list, but I've been spot on. All of these things have absolutely tanked. Now, is there some value in some of these? Absolutely. Um, and maybe what I'll do is we'll do like a stocking stuffer for the next call that we have, where maybe I'll pick my top 5 or 10 and quickly go through each one and what they do. I think that'd be a cool little idea. But are there some bargains out there in terms of risk reward ratio going forward? Absolutely. Some of these great biotech stocks, for instance, they're down 80% and 90%. I'm like, oh my word. And some of these things, I mean, listen, as I always said, the psychedelic industry, one of the areas in which we're in, I said it publicly. Like I always said, if I could short those things, the ETFs, I would. What's that thing? I always ask you, what's that thing trading at nowadays?
Let's have a look.
Yeah. So I always said that if I could short that thing, I would. And it's not that I was not allowed to short it, but it's just, out of principle, I wouldn't do it. But all of these psychedelic stocks have all been killed. But the good thing is that the strong are going to survive. And our 2023 looking forward for what we're doing in the psychedelic space is very interesting. In fact, we just finished a bunch of interviewing of a bunch of postdoc docs, PhDs and postdocs, um, for our new round of research in South Africa. So really, really cool stuff.
So the ETF is $8, but they did what looks like
Rollback.
a like 5-to-1 or something rollback. Yeah. Let's have a look.
So it got down to like a buck and change or something, I guess.
It got down to $2.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that. And I said that would be one, some of the bigger cap names. I'll mention the stock name now. That'd be MindMed. I always said that these things are hunks of junk, that all they've done is raise a ton of money. They've gone out and spent it crazily on the typical stuff that these people do, which is actually maybe a good segue into the crypto space and FTX talking about spending money like an animal. I mean, that whole the absurdity of smart, intelligent money, supposedly smart, intelligent money, investing in Sam Bankman Fries or whatever his name is, and you've got your Canadian Shark Tank O'Leary guy that
You got the Ontario
big.
Pension Fund. I mean, let's unpack it. I mean, obviously, I'm sure by now everyone watching this video knows what FTX is and everything. I guess the one thing that people are constantly asking now, after kind of everyone understands, hey, $30 billion worth of customer funds, thrown into everything, now worth not much. And I guess now is a perfect time to talk about what's maybe the short-term and long-term effects of something like that happening, let alone it being in crypto, which is added fire, I think. But, what do we expect, to come out of that? And, I want to set the stage. Like FTX invested in tons of things, not just crypto companies. A lot of people think, oh yeah, they invested in coins. These guys invested in psychedelic companies, they invested in other public companies, they invested in tons of other things. Their list is deep. And then the other side, these VCs that everyone puts on a pedestal, like you were saying, Sequoia. Sequoia had a 6 paragraph reasoning on their website for why, Sam is so amazing and all this other stuff. And they even got, all the way to the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund. So, I mean, curious to talk about what's the like long-term effects of a, company going from $30 billion to zero in the span of 4 days. But yeah, I mean, I guess where's your head at?
Well, so first of all, look, as far as you know, a fraud, this has got to be one of the top ones right up there. I mean, this guy, his girlfriend, all the weirdos that work with him in Nassau. I mean, I've never seen such a group of weirdos. And like, was that not the sign right there? Like, I don't get it. I don't get how you could walk into a meeting and meet these people and say, these are the young kids of today that I need to invest in. Like, what is wrong with you? If that's what you said back then, you need medical attention. So the you look at so first of all, what's going to happen next? My prediction: the girlfriend or whatever she is, she's going to roll on him big time. So she's going to turn, she's going to act for the state, and she's going to roll everything she knows to them and trying to get a lesser sentence. He's going to go up for many, many years. He's going to go away. I believe probably his parents, lawyers at Stanford, they'll probably get in trouble as well. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. These people, they all knew what they were doing in terms of committing the fraud. They talk about it openly. So the amount of money that they used, all they did is a typical Ponzi scheme. They took the money from investors and went out and spent it. Insanity. And how it wasn't stopped or seen earlier. The only guy that actually saw it was I forget his name now, but the guy that was in Congress that everyone made fun of him.
Yeah.
You know, you know who I'm talking about? I
Yeah,
forget
I
his
forget
name.
his name too. And the only one who really like pulled the card out was CZ at Binance, which is funny. I mean, he took a lot of heat and I think he knew what he was doing. He's a really smart guy, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But wild, like what a house of cards to see that all come down. But yeah, I mean, the crazy people ask, how is Sam's like this guy's still tweeting and he's apparently attending a conference? Like it's like all this, like explain that to me.
yeah. Well, you know what it is? It's just delusional thinking. And I don't know if it has to do with all the processed foods that people eat. I keep on saying, I keep on saying that could be a reason. I mean, if you look at Sam, he's not a great physical specimen. So I'm sure he eats a lot of processed foods. But obviously his decision making and the rest of the team, I mean, they're a bunch of no minds, right? And they're a bunch of young kids that believe that they probably believe that sense of entitlement and all these kind of things are the new way of the world and climate change and this and all the like. Let me on that note, let me give you a funny story, a very interesting quick story. On the airplane over here, I was sat beside a guy from London. uh, we ended up chatting. He's a researcher at, I'll leave the university name out. He's a smart researcher, definitely a smart guy. He researches infectious diseases, and we had a great chat. And then all of a sudden, I said, yeah, your wife's on the flight. Where is she? Oh, she's over there. And I said, oh, well, I'll switch seats. You guys can sit together. And he said, no, no, that's okay. I see her all the time. And I said, what does your wife do? And he says to me, she's an activist. I go, oh, okay. And that's great. So what does she do? Well, she's a climate change activist. Oh, okay. So what, she has a degree in engineering or an engineer, like what's her degree in? Well, she doesn't have a degree. She organizes events around these things like where people glue themselves to paintings or thing. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, that's really productive. And then he says to me, he says, wasn't it Greta Van Thornburg that said if we don't change the amount of pollution we emit to the, the earth, that we're all going to die in 15 years. And I looked at him and I said, you're actually using a quote from Greta von Thunberg to try and persuade me to think a certain way? Like, what is wrong with you? You just took away all your incredible credibility that you've been talking about and what you do, in that you look at a 15-year-old kid, or whatever she is now, as being your like superhero on climate change. Like, what is wrong with you? And unfortunately, that is where a lot of the younger generation seems to think, that's where they need to get their information, TikTok videos, whatever it may be, instead of listening to, guys that have been there, done that, guys, girls, people that have actually not only done the work, the science research, but have actually applied it in the real world. So, boy, that was an interesting conversation when he quoted her. But I just wanted to bring that in because it's much like the FTC thing with Sam and his so-called partners. I mean, just the ultimate in scam. But yet, I can assure you that when they did it, when they were spending all this money every day, they felt a sense of entitlement that they were given that money, as Sam explained, to go disperse it to the world to take care of a lot of, issues that are in the world. So much like, it's okay to take people's money nowadays, right? It's just, it's okay. We can come take it from you. Don't worry. We'll put it to good use for you. Even though it's your money, we're going to come take it and put it to use for you. And that's the way Sam and all these young kids at his company felt.
Well, I mean, when you see where they send money, that adds a lot of questions. I guess, the point that is so interesting and curious on your take, did they know what they were doing the whole time? Like, yes, they knew they were spending customer funds, but were they quote investing customer funds, trying to, hey, we can float like a bank with only having to have so much in treasury, and then hey, away we go? Or do you think like would that have just, things would have just got worse? Do you think they could have, there is someone who made a point of, if they managed their treasury a little bit better and they didn't have 1% of customer funds, but they had 10 or 20 or whatever, could they have kept it going? And I'm just curious on, what your take is.
So the typical Ponzi scheme is the deeper you get in trouble, the harder it is to ever be able to pull out. And the guy that was in charge of that was had the huge gambling issue as well, right? So he's out there gambling online, Vegas, like the guy's doing everything on the side, literally making bets for $1 million here, $1 million there, 10 million here, 10, I don't know how much money he had bet on Trump, whatever. I mean, he had all these side bets going everywhere. So the deeper he got, the more bets that he lost. Eventually, it's a typical Ponzi scheme. You are not able to pull yourself out. Impossible. So did they know? Absolutely. They knew that day one, that when they took that first dollar that wasn't theirs, they always said to themselves, well, don't worry, we can replace the money.
So
We'll
then the
make the
argument
money
though is,
back.
isn't that what a bank does?
Yeah, but no, I mean, well, banks, so you got the 10% rule in there. I mean, come on,
So
banks are
the
banks. I mean,
question that is funny that comes up is, I mean, hey, if it was a better market and all these other things, but from a, hey, it was a scam, it's a Ponzi, it's funny. I've seen someone say like the best scams are when the person running the scam doesn't believe it's a scam until holy fuck, they're at the end of it and they're like, holy shit, it was a scam. And so I guess the question is like, they knew they were taking customers' funds, in their opinion, investing it. Do you think they knew it was a scam then, or do you think they knew it was a scam at the end and that was it?
so I think you're right. I think that they did not set out to make this scam happen. So, as in most Ponzi schemes, you actually don't set out to set up a Ponzi scheme. You have some kind of a business that you think may work. And then once the chain starts to break, you then start to panic. It's like the sunken cost fallacy. You start investing more money because you think you better, you're at the very bottom. You're at I'll keep on putting more money and more money and more money. And that's exactly what happens. And eventually it just collapses. It's like the biggest game of Ring Around the Rosie. And I think I've referred to that before. I wrote a good article on that probably 15 years ago, talking about the biggest, game of Ring Around the Rosie. And that actually led to, one of the greatest collapses we had on Wall Street, where you could just feel it, that there was no money underlying or supporting the stories that were going around. And when it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, it probably is a duck. So if this whole Sam thing and his penthouse and all this stuff, if it didn't make sense, well, then it probably didn't make sense. But the problem is you have money, and that gets in the way, where leaders in Congress were getting, big checks from him, and they're like, oh no, Sam's a hero. He's the next JP Morgan. I'm like, did you really just say that? Do you actually believe this moron is the next JP Morgan? You need your head examined. And by the way, I don't see why in the future every member of Congress and the Senate and the president must pass an IQ test. It should be part of just a necessary part of life. You want to go represent the public, then you need to have a certain IQ. Speaking of which, by the way, I don't know if you know, but in the US now, for lawyers, they're no longer making it mandatory you write your LSAT.
Really?
Well, of course. We know why, of course, because apparently, being a lawyer is, if you write, and writing an LSAT isn't fair to everybody. It's like, holy shit. Soon, it's going to be, you want to become a pilot, you don't have to write a test to become a pilot, because it should be open to everybody that wants to be a pilot can be a pilot. That is where we're heading. And that's when we opened our conversation earlier on. That is the lunacy, the delusional thinking that's out there, Jason.
So like the question now is like, what, so, just talking this FTX situation, so talk about long-term effects, and by long-term, a year plus, 6 months plus, whatever we want to use as the metric. I mean, I think, as someone who does business in crypto all the time, I'm seeing the regulations, the regulators themselves already change and act, up in Canada, let alone other places in the world. So to me, like, there's some serious change from a regulation standpoint happening in crypto over the next couple of years, for sure. I think this is going to, by the time people can actually trust crypto, it's going to have to be a bank, like, hey, I can buy it through my bank account, I can do this. And until we get there, I think it's going to be a serious cold time in the crypto winter universe. So at least that's my take.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to trickle into other industries too.
I'm with you. And listen, regulation, I'm big on regulation. We've spoken about this often, and that was, one of the big issues I have with cannabis industry in Africa is the lack of regulation. I'm here in Bangkok, or in Thailand, looking at the cannabis industry, which has recently been decriminalized here, and the lack of regulation. They put out some regulation, but now it's quickly gone back for review only 4 months after it was actually created. And it's a good thing, but what what we do need is proper regulation so that people understand, what are the boundaries and where can you play. And I always go back to, my love of a place like Dubai, where you have regulation up the wazoo, but you certainly know where you stand. You know what you can do and you know what you can't do. And in the crypto space, we need to have the same. In the crypto space, it's been a crazy kumbaya, much like in the psychedelic space, no different. You still have all these, crazy people talking about crazy things in psychedelic space. These people should be locked up for what they say. And, it's okay to go out and try a bunch of this mushroom or whatever and tell me how you feel. It's like, really, huh? That's the way science and research should be conducted? No, that's brilliant. And these guys are the CEOs of many publicly traded companies saying this shit. And they should be, I don't know, They should be whatever, but whatever it is, it's not good. And that's what hurts industries. So in the crypto space, back to your question, in a way, in hindsight, we'll look back at this moment and say, that is actually what the industry needed. It needed this big collapse so that the rules and regulations could be put in place, make it clear, and have like a collaborative set of rules designed by guys like you that are in the industry, industry stakeholders and financial people that actually understand financial markets. Let them all get together, write out some rules and regulations, and move forward with that. It definitely needs it. And I think
Yeah.
that's where we're going to head.
Yeah, and I think it's coming. The irony of it all is it's funny, like, that Sam was actually pushing for a lot of this stuff, kind of, which is the irony in the whole situation as well. I guess in the end he'll get some of that stuff done, but how long does it take, and how long do you have this kind of question mark on the industry? So interesting enough. Well, I know we're getting to the end. I mean, anything else you wanted to put into kind of like a November type update? And obviously we'll do one here in a couple weeks, some
Cool.
stock stuffers, as you said. But
Um, no, listen, there are the FTX thing has certainly captured the headlines in the financial industry, in terms of, is there, what does it mean for everybody? And it's going to take time to figure it out. The Bahamas is certainly not going to, in my opinion, they're not going to send Sam back. They're not going to. They're not going to look at jurisdictional U.S. and approve any of that stuff. If anything, the Bahamas is going to make sure they can hang on to whatever assets they can for as long as they can, and whatever they feel and deem as theirs, they're going to take it. The U.S., just because of the U.S., they think that they can just walk in and say, we want X, Y, Z. The Bahamas has made the reputation, as have other good islands like Bermuda and others, by saying the exact opposite. Well, no, the jurisdiction is here. That's why they're here. The corporations are based here. This is our business. We'll conduct our investigations first. We'll work with you, and whatever we want to tell you, we will. Otherwise, get out of our path. You're the guys that caused this issue, not us. You don't see the Bahamas waving the flag every day saying, crypto, yeah, crypto, yeah. We're the jurisdiction. It's you guys in the US that pushed for all this stuff. So anyone thinks that he's going to get extradited, dream on. That ain't going to happen for quite some time, if it ever should happen. But watch for the girlfriend to roll. That's definitely going to happen. And then on the political front, like I said, it's going to start to heat up, with impeachment things happening, and it's gonna get nasty and ugly. So unfortunately, and otherwise, it's been a great trip here in Bangkok. I'm out of here on Sunday, Monday. I get back to Cape Town. Then I'm off for EFC 100 in Johannesburg, which is going to be amazing. You can definitely watch for more news as it relates to our relationship with the EFC coming up soon as well, and all sorts of good stuff. I mean, I look forward to our next chat, Jason, and by then I'm sure a lot more of the information on FTX and Sam and all these things will be out there. So, but I appreciate your time as always, and I'm off to grab an early morning coffee. Well, it's 7 o'clock. It's not early anymore. I'm gonna go grab coffee number 400 of the morning, and I look forward to our next catch up, buddy. Thank you so much for your time.
there you go. Awesome. Well, we'll chat soon.
Thanks.